Go. I do believe we're live, so I'll say indeed. And greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. What a dear pleasure it is to have you here again. On another opportunity for us to consider all we've learned. Might not be the most riveting of conversation starters. How about learning things? How about all of these things you've learned? But there has been this experience in me of realizing that as soon as I show up to learn things, I can become obsessed. Right? Like I felt this thing switching on in my brain today, right? And it's absolutely ego. I hope that's clear and that I'm aware of it. But there was this part of me that became fascinated, intoxicated by the idea of knowing things. Right? You friends know that I like to know. But today, there was this moment in me where I realized that I, in fact, don't know, right? Nearly as much as I ought to. And as soon as I felt that, I felt this call to actually do know more than I think I do, right? And it was very much from a place of ego, right? And again, acknowledging that there was this part of me that wanted to be, that was almost like, again, intoxicated by the idea of being the smartest person in the room, right? And it's one thing to think that, right? I'm willing to admit that there is a bad perception in general in our public sentiment about that as a want, right? If you want as a person to be the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? Like that's also the conventional wisdom. Like you shouldn't be in that room right now, right? But it's one thing to think you're the smartest person in the room, and it's another thing to actually be, right? And what does that look like? How is that possible? And today it became clear to me again that it's only possible if I learn things, right? I can only be smart with the same ferocity, education that might not be inspiring to say it in so many words, but there is something good about it, right? If you discover that for yourself. I'm thinking about the whole lazy fractal, right? Like I have been calling myself lazy, or I have been called lazy by others my whole life. And there is this experience of, finding in my own life how I'm willing to do things that would transcend that belief system. Lost in, hey to you, friend. We have Wait van der Merwe. Daai is 'n dik Afrikaanse van. Hey Wait. What are you yapping about? Because that's fucking rude, bro. You can't just say shit like that. I'm yapping about learning things, right? And I'm yapping about this experience of becoming educated. I'm yapping about how a part of me used to not want to really study, right? And I'm realizing how the part of me that wants to know more realizes that I have to. Ek kan. Kan jy ook Afrikaans praat? Ja. Like ons nog Afrikaanse mense hier so vandag. Ja. Again, right? It's valuable to learn how to speak English, for example, right? I am traditionally, uh, is traditionally the right word? Um, I don't even know. Ek is groot gemaak. Kan jy Afrikaans praat? Ja, ek is Afrikaans groot gemaak. My parents raised me to be Afrikaans. And then I met another 5-year-old. I subbed. Good. Thank you, mate. That's nice of you, bro. And I met this other 5-year-old or 6-year-old, right, as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old. And I was like speaking to this person, and he was like, I don't understand Afrikaans. And I'm like, I need to learn how to speak words. I don't know if you remember that kid in Ristenberg, all the way down that like little mini side property we had. There was a English family living, and they had a little boy who was English speaking. And I met him, and I couldn't speak back to him, and I was like, nope, absolutely not. I need to learn how to speak English. And because I did, my entire life was changed by that, technically. Right? I would not be able to be here right now to have built the career I have if I wasn't capable of speaking English. Hoe gaan je dag? Heel goed. My day has been pretty chill. I haven't been too productive. I I've been following like courses on the Cardano Academy, and today I basically did like a recap quiz where all of the stuff that I had learned I got recapped on, and I still got like a 94% on that, like recap quiz. But I still made mistakes that feel like I need to know more. You know, I can feel this. It's like I don't know if you know what the Dunning Kruger effect is. Hey Libya, it's nice seeing you, friend. Where in South Africa you from? I'm living in Mpumalanga, Limpopo side right now, but I was born in Klerksdorp. Is that Northwest? I don't even know. I live in South Africa. Groblersdal is die dorp waar ek na is. So yeah, um, I got recapped. And again, like it's a very much experiential. Me too. Also in Mpumalanga side. What are the odds? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's getting better at localizing my stream as well to people close. I'm in Cape Town. There we go. Yeah. Like we've been getting a lot more South African friends in this stream than I'm used to regularly. I'm quickly gonna go and get something. Would you bear with me? You can like look into the South Africas. I mean, it's not something new for you, friends. You've probably seen scenes like these multiple times in your life. Hi. If you scream, I'll like and sub. I'm also African. I'll speak Afrikaans. If I scream, J.R. Jacobs. Ag gaan nie skree nie. Ek's jammer. There's other people, bruh. Other people are here too. I already project my voice enough. I don't need to be screaming. I'm gonna get some water. I'm gonna get some Dynavap. I'm gonna get some secondary screens, and then I'm gonna be returning. Yeah. Almost immediately. Look at us. Back again. Now I have to hide my legs. Yeah. Wees ordentlik. Mag je bene nie? I never got into the PT short fractal. And technically I don't like wearing shorts, but it's strict in South Africa, bro. So it's water. Fantastic. Yeah. So continuations of educations, right? You are very, very powerful as a human being. And you can be made more powerful by learning. Right. I think that's the thing that's really the like experiential thing that I'm trying to share. Right. I came to that conclusion today of seeing in the future how my life is being changed by what I'm learning today. That's what I want to like impart. That's what I want you to feel with me. Because again, it's very easy. It's very easy to feel disheartened, to feel hopeless, to feel angry, to feel jaded towards the system we're in. All right, to feel all of those things. And I think it's better to feel educated. You know what I mean? You know? You heard him say? Totally. I will now proceed and add heat to this system. Like that. Huh. Interesting. I wonder because I'm pretty sure uh like Google or YouTube has like algorithms to detect. But I don't think they know what this is technically, right? The shapes do not make sense to the algorithms. Because there's no technically like burning in. So it's not like I'm lighting anything technically. Another click has been clicked, and then we'll do one more click, and then we'll be done for a bit. Back in allowing ourselves to consider what we've learned. What have I learned? Clearly today, that it helps learning things. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll definitely do it. Me and my friends are having a conversation about education. There is a very clear understanding, especially amongst those with critical thinking skills, that we are more than anything as a species affected by our lack of education. That there is so much wealth out there in the universe, there's so much to do, there's so much to change. And our ability to is directly related to our knowledge, to the things that we know, to our ability to actually utilize our environments and our information to make something new. I'm curious if you can give me some points of interest, what people of past, like go as deep into the history as you want, have said about education and the value thereof, the value that it brings to the mind, the value that it brings to the soul of the human being. I'm very curious, especially today, as it relates to power, because there was this moment today where experientially I felt more powerful because I had information. I knew things that I didn't know just a week ago, and that's felt empowering. I'm curious if there's something to be said about that as well. I don't know if you can hear it, but there is a pressure pump, just like pumping and pumping pressure, and it's pumping and pumping and pumping some more pressure, and I wanted to stop. Please stop it, or so help me. Let me just see if there's somebody doing something with the water. Checking, checking. Ah, ah, that would do it. I think my sister is showering and my mom is taking a bath. Explains why that thing is not off. I hope you can't hear it. There is some audio cancellation magic happening on the microphone side, but alas, I do not know it perfect. You know what I mean? Let's consider. There is a rich tapestry of thought on the value of education that spans millennia. You hear that? You hear that? Millennias of spannings. There are several points and historical voices that echo the idea that knowledge isn't just information, it's empowerment for the mind, the soul, and society as a whole. Within the ancient philosophers, they set the foundation of thought. Plato and the allegory of the cave. Of course, we go straight for the allegory of the cave, all right? Like, and I'll read you the bit as well. But essentially, the allegory of the cave is like imagining reality gape kept by ourselves, from ourselves, where we as entities find ourselves in this cave allegory, right? We're in a cave. And what we see, because we have our backs pressed up against a wall, right? Imagine this cave goes in, and then there's a big hole, and then there is more cave to the side, right? And we're like pushing ourselves like up against this wall. And as things pass by that cave's entrance, we can see shadows cast on the wall, right? Maybe you see a horse walking past the cave, and you see the horse's shadow cast on the wall of that cave, and you're like, oh. And maybe you can form words, you can form an educated idea, guess of what that is, right? You're like, oh, that's horse because it has that kind of shadow, it has that kind of head, right? You can imagine the shadow fractal. And it's like, oh, now I know what a horse is, the person blissfully unaware in the cave thinks. And then as soon as they get taken out of the cave and they get shown an actual horse, they'll have to reconcile. They'll have to figure out that this idea they've had of what a horse is their whole life is in fact a three-dimensional object, right? That has angles from every single side, that has different shadows. Oh, relief. That have different shadows depending on which side you're looking at it from, right? And then that person could potentially run back into the cave and tell all of his other cave dwellers that there, in fact, is a whole world out there. And the world we think we know is, in fact, not the world that's out there, right? And our ideas, our words for these three-dimensional, two-dimensional shadow objects are, in fact, referencing something larger. But we don't know that until we're willing to leave the cave and see for ourselves, right? And some people don't. Some people don't want to leave the cave. Some people want to play the game. Some people want to stay in the game. Plato saw education as the journey from darkness, ignorance, into light, knowledge. In the allegory of the cave, he illustrated that enlightenment, gaining true knowledge, allows us to see beyond mere shadows. This metaphor underscores how education liberates us from the constraints of limited perception. Yeah, becoming educated, right? Like, for instance, I've been becoming educated on blockchain. My soul has gravitated towards this technology literally since I first discovered it. Not me discovering it as in I was the one who invented it, but more finding it online, right? Kind of discovery. I was like, wait a second, what? Right? Since I was like 16. And now I'm 26, right? A decade has passed. And even though I've been fascinated and in love with this technology and the ideas that it kind of represents, I never really stepped in to the true understanding that would be required of me if I actually want to do something about it, right? And then finally, I decided that it's time for me to do something about it. And there is this, again, uh, metaphor underscores how education liberates us from the constraint of limited perception. I had limited perception. All of us have limited perception in that way, right? It's like a part of the deal. You cannot not have limited perception because, again, you have two pairs of eyes and you have two ears. And there is a lot happening on earth simultaneously. And your two ears and your two eyes cannot perceive that in its fullness. So, in that way, it is limited, right? But it is also limited in that way to everything in life, essentially. Like, there's nothing in life that doesn't have some sort of limitation like that to you. And education, in that way, is the slow but sure liberation through education of those limitations, right? And I guess, like, at least this is what I've been experiencing in my own journey, that it takes some time to actually get into it. I don't particularly enjoy, I want to use the word studying. I don't particularly enjoy studying. I don't particularly enjoy learning things, right? For the sake of learning things. I really enjoy learning things for the sake of doing things, right? And I feel like that's where the shift has happened in me as well. Is that I realize that learning things for the sake of learning things doesn't exist. There is only learning things for the sake of doing things because I'll be doing a bunch of things in life, right? Rarely, like, even if I only talk about the things that I've learned about, that is still a kind of doing, right? Instead of it just being learning for the sake of learning for the sake of me now knowing something, right? Seems a little bit unexciting if that's going to be the only objective. I'm quickly going to go and check something. Uh, there we go. Yeah. Burp deck. Comments are open again. Yeah, my comments have been locked on this one for a while. That's why I haven't been reading them, because I haven't been seeing them. I'm sorry. I see Jovan saying, what a beautiful day to have a beautiful day. Yeah, look at this green. Doesn't it look energetic? Looks so extra. I'm scared of the sun. I'm like part vampire. So I got to stay in the shade. I know it's not the best lighting I could have, but alas, beggars can't be choosers. Do you speak Zulu? No, I don't, unfortunately. Okay, dis okay. Baie mense het nee gesê. Ek sal nog steeds like en sub. I just got called oom. Oom is like a term of respect that younger Afrikaans people would have for an older Afrikaans gentleman. Right, oom. You say oom. But that's like uncle. That's like getting called uncle. I just got called uncle on YouTube. Right. The first time it happened to me, I was, I think, 17. I was a 17-year-old. I went to watch a movie. What movie was it? Apparently, an uninteresting one. I watched an uninteresting movie, but I did happen to find myself seated next to a dad and his son. And then the son, I don't know, wanted to go to the bathroom or buy popcorn or something. And then he like wants to pass by. And then he says, "Excuse me, oom. Excuse oom. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, uncle." All right. And I'm 17 at this point, and I just got like rocked. Because again, right, up until that point in my life as a 17-year-old, I'm still the guy that uncles other people, right? I still say to an older Afrikaans gentleman as a kid, right? Like I'm still the kid who's supposed to say and then suddenly I got called and it just happened again. Now it's like now it's been encoded in YouTube. At least at this point, I'm close to 27, so it's okay. I think I'm now okay with being called. I don't know. I don't know though. It's still weird. How many subs do you have? How many subs do I have right now? 1,390. It seems we're getting close to 1,444. Yeah. Manifest. If you're not yet understanding the skills you are affected by the lack of, well, knowledge isn't the same as skill. I can imagine a horse in a cave no one sees, but why judge? Um, it's not a matter of judgment. It's more a matter of consensus, I think, since we're talking about blockchain as well, right? Consensus basically means that we agree, right? If I have a ledger, right, and for instance, maybe I have a little shape that is represented by horse, and then I write horse next to it. And then you get that to see that same shape, and you're like, yeah, bet that's horse. And then person next to me also sees that shape, and they're like, yep, horse. And then you are like, cow. All right. Then your entry in consensus won't be taken because we don't agree with you in that way. All right. So it's not a judgment we're casting, it's more determination we have made. All right. It's a conclusion we have come to as a collective. So I feel like there is something to knowledge as that, right? It's more consensus than it is true knowing in that way, right? Because again, if I tell you, uh, I'm imagining like the whole fractal of like physicists and telling you to ignore gravity or telling you to ignore wind resistance, right? Like there are certain, yeah, like you'll still learn things. There'll still be knowledge gained from you learning how to do math without considering wind resistance and gravity, but it's going to be inaccurate. It's going to be wrong, right? You're going to be learning something wrong, and that's where I think again the why, the consensus, right? The consensus is that if you want it to be right, you have to put all of the considerations into the equation, right? And that counts for our perception of reality as well. Right? Again, in good old allegories of cave sisters. Then there is Socrates, continuing down this rabbit hole, and the importance of inquiry. Socrates famously championed the examined life, urging his contemporaries to question assumptions. His dialectical method, or Socratic questioning, reminds us, and I believe that's basically just asking questions. Like it's like incisioning, but with questions. It's like the keep asking why, like why, and why, over and over and over again until you get to base reality of wisdom. Reminds us that acknowledging our ignorance and maybe like finding out that at some point you can't answer the why. Uh, Acknowledging our base ignorance is the first step towards true wisdom. And like I mentioned that kind of like happened to me a little bit as well today, where I was like, oh, I don't know as much as I want to, but I'm realizing I know more now than I did. And when I didn't know what I do, I still thought I knew things. And then there was this moment of like, oh wow, instead of thinking that I knew things, I think it's better to actually know things. And I was like, huh, true wisdom's beginning. First step, true wisdoming. In this sense, education is led about accumulating facts and more about cultivating critical thought and self awareness. I think in that way, I am still a little bit limited, right? Because the education I'm gaining right now is a little bit of accumulating facts, because there are facts that have been accumulated in this space, right? And there's no workaround. Melt, Kiefer, it's nice having you here. Great shirt, my friend. Thank you. This one is like an old one. It has like a strange cut, so it's a little bit shorter. So you see, if I really raise my arms, I get like some skin exposure, which I really don't like. But alas, bless you. Happy Saturday to you. We're talking about knowledge, about wisdom, about gaining and therein, and we're now going down a rabbit hole of history and all of our past teachers and what they have thought about learning, right? And integrating these lessons as we go. Within Eastern wisdom, there is harmonizing the mind and the soul. Confucius on moral and social education. In ancient China, Confucius emphasized education not merely for intellectual growth, but for moral development and social harmony. Hmm. My mind is like doing like a backflip right now of like, why are we so uneducated? And then I'm like, oh, if we were more educated, we would be more morally developed and more socially harmonious, right? And that might not be profitable, right? Them freaking hungry hippos. He believed that cultivating virtue through learning was essential to become an well rounded individual and a positive force in society. I think there was definitely a moment in me today as well, right? Again, there was definitely a certain sense of power that wanted to be acquired in learning. But again, that power that is acquired is technically leverage. And that leverage is used, should be used, uh, to again benefit society, right? To make the world a better place, to add value. I think that's like the most generic way to say it, right? You can use your education to add value. And when you add value, you contribute, right? In a way where I want to say always the words, again, leverage. You create leverage, right? It's like a cascade, a snowball effect, right? Every single little input you have adds, right? Like I heard a whole thing about like a whole decentralized charity. Michael Saylor went down this conversation about when he dies, uh, all of his keys, which is essentially the ability to unlock the safety deposit box that contains all of his wealth on a blockchain, is going to get burned with him. Which means that on a literal level, when he dies, his money is suddenly all of our money, right? Literally. That's how it works. And that is crazy. That is insane, right? So again, since we're like in this moment of now educating ourselves and learning things, that think about it from this perspective. Maybe you are a billionaire because that dude is a billionaire at this point. I think the company that he's the CEO of slash owner of owns something like 45 billion US dollars worth. 500, like going on 500,000 bitcoins now. It's actually fucking insane. Anyway, right? And I don't know if all of those is what he means? Probably not. But I do think that he owes, probably personally as well, a fair bit. But he like had this whole rant where he talked about that when he dies, that is going to get burnt, right? Which means that it will never be accessible to the market again in the same way, which means the market has to adjust and value the remainder higher, right? Again, with the whole supply and demand fractal. It's the only thing, at least, that has some proper credence behind it. That is uh, that is demand without elastic supply, right? Like there cannot be any more of it ever, right? That's a big deal for the whole fractal of like already it has done to our minds, as a, let's call it again, power, right? As an education, as a difference. So if a billionaire, right, let's say all of those 500 bitcoins is his, right, and he has talked like that as well, that 45 billion US dollars, if that 45 billion US dollars in the traditional sense got given to a charity, right, just like in dollars, that's a lot of money, admittedly. But over 10, 20, 50 years, there is going to be hundreds of trillions, hundreds and hundreds of trillions of new money created, right? Of new dollars, of new value, technically added to the economy in that way, right? Which means that in a traditional sense, in like the ideal sense, right? If an ultra wealthy 45 billionaire donated all of his wealth to the world, to charity, in 50 years, that wealth, his whole life's work that he donated to reality, is worth a fraction of a percentage, right? A fraction of a fraction of a percentage. Whereas in the fractal of like a decentralized network, him burning, right, removing from supply those 45 billion in value means that he adds that 45 billion in value. Like he takes it away from himself. I mean, he died, so in this scenario, there is death, right? But then takes that, instead of like with him to the grave, right? As in like bury me with my gold bars. It's like taking it into the network, like the wealth ascends into reality, into all of our realities. And like as soon as I heard that, again, like this light went on in my mind of like, oh wow, right? Oh wow, that I didn't think about it like that. Today I learned. More shall be learned still. I'm opening chat again to make sure I'm not missing anything. Mhm. Are you living in France or Quebec? I'm living in South Africa, Kunzeller. South Africa. Lady R. I haven't seen that name in a while. It's nice seeing you now. You meet again. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty fine. I'm feeling good. It's pretty sunny. It's been kind of hot, but not like rudely so. I'm feeling mindful, like I'm taking steps towards more actively day by day. This is a good one to keep around. Sold. The thing I can never get enough of, that not profitable enough. Think I'm missing some context. Just wanted to say I love you all. Maybe you're like the thing I can never get enough of. The education. The not profitable enough, yeah, also. No one's putting a limit on your value. I think you're can I think you contribute as fully as humanly possible. I know you think that, Dream Tooth. I know you do. But the free market has determined in its infinite wisdom that I am worth like $300 a month. All right. That's kind of the situation right now. So clearly, the free market's like, how about you get learned? Oh, maybe we'll pay you more or something. And unfortunately, I ain't got any assets to sell online other than my art, right? And people are willing to pay for let's call it void, uh, much more readily than they're willing to pay for flowers. But confusing value as the name of a pickup game. Big education. Does education involve proof of work? Yeah, technically it does. Technically it does. It takes a certain amount of time to get educated. All right. There's no education you can get instantaneously. Just I spend 5,000 daras and now I know things. Whoa, ching, right? Instantaneously. No. Would be very cool. Maybe it will be like that someday. But today, education's proof of work. I don't think value equals supply, supply of whatever, game of whatever, creating. So it's more a matter of, again, right, with that whole blockchain. For the first time ever, for the first time ever, humanity had something that was, I want to call, I want to say, uh, decentralized is a good word, but I want to almost say detached, right, from reality. It's literally detached from reality in a good way, right? In the way you want that kind of thing to be detached from reality. And that way in which it is detached from reality allows it to be in touch with the hyper reality that is being created, right? Which is AI and robotics and the companies that will be attached to that hyper reality as a system. And a lot of value, a lot of wealth will be created in that system, right? Trillions, hundreds of trillions of dollars will be created in that way. But a AI cannot get a bank account. An AI cannot get uh, go through or qualify for a bank account, right? Or an investment account or something like that. Like it wouldn't be able to do that. However, an AI can easily, like, and I say easily with like emphasis, easily create a crypto wallet, right? And use that crypto wallet to exchange value and trade and etc., right? Add value to that network. So it's not about necessarily uh, what you think has value as it relates to supply of whatever, game of whatever. It is the fact that, as you said, creating, the fact that there will be more created, and the only means for value to be exchanged in a hyper-real reality is through blockchain, right? It's like the same tangibility, right? There's something called UTXO. It's unspent transaction output. It's almost like a note. It's like holding onto a coin, right? If I tell you, right, my product costs 1 coin, or let's say half a coin. It doesn't really work with the coin analogy as much. Let's say, and we do in South Africa have like coins that have like a value on them. Like we have a 5 rand coin, and we have 1 rand coins, and we have 2 rand coins, right? And then I say, I have a 5 rand coin. This is a UTXO, an unspent transaction output, right? I've not been spent yet. It's still in my hand, right? And then you tell me that your product is 1 rand, right? Now I can't just cut 1/5 off of my 5 rand coin and give you 1/5 of it, and you're gonna be happy with that. No, I give you the whole 5 rand, and then you give me two rands back, all right? And in that case, it would be like 2 UTXOs that I receive in turn for the one that I gave you, right? And that is in the same way that UTXO model and the extended UTXO model is the same kind of tangibility in transactions, right? When I put coins in your pocket, they're now in your pocket. They're no longer in my pocket because I took them out of my pocket to put them in your pocket. And the way in which that works is with like keys. I have a private key, right, that I can like unlock my pocket with and take the coins out with, and then I can put it in your public key. You can give me a public key, and I can put those coins in those public key, and then you can look at those coins, right, and you can verify it on chain with my public key. But you never have my private key, and you need to have your private key to open your wallet to receive the coins into, right? I made it sound more complicated than it is, I think. What do you mean by void? Uh, you can call it holes as well. All right. You can sell pictures of holes, and you can make lots of money. There we go. Now he gets it. Ah, Kiefer, Kiefer. We're creating. Big on us. Ow! Can't be biting me and stuff, bro. Pippi is terrorizing a praying mantis. Poor dude. Yeah. Let's continue down the education rabbit hole with an Eastern wisdom. Yeah. The Enlightenment and modern thought. French Francis Bacon's knowledge is power, the well known aphorism, encapsulates the idea that information provides the foundation for change. I like that. I really like that because that is something that I actually believe in. I really believe in that. The whole knowledge is power. And like we talked about that a little bit today. And I mentioned that sense of power that arose in me and that I realized that I like and I want more of, right? I want more. And it is that, right? Information provides the foundation for change. It's like the bedrock. As soon as you know things, it gives you a certain like stepping stone. Like you have place to go, right? Because you now know where the road is as a vibe, right? It's like giving yourself a map. Bacon argued that by understanding the world, we gain the power to shape it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your personal experience of feeling more empowered by new knowledge is a modern echo of his insights. Yeah, nice. John Dewey on education as life. Dewey argued that education should not be seen as a mere preparation for life, but as a vital part of life itself. He progresses His progressive views remind us that learning is a continual, transformative process, one that equips us to actively participate in and improve our world. Again, the world improvement fractal, right? Paulo Freire and the praxis of liberation. In pedagogy, in pedagogoi, in pedagogy, I'm sorry, of oppression, Priere critiqued traditional educational models and promoted a more participatory, dialogic approach. I hope I said those words correctly. He believed that true education should empower learners to challenge and change oppressive systems. Yeah, a philosophy that resonates with your sense of power through information. Yes, again, that second bit, he believed that true education should empower learners to challenge and change oppressive systems. And then the Nelson Mandela endorsement. Hmm. Mandela famously stated that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. His words capture how education fuels both personal growth and collective progress. Point four, education as empowerment. From information to transformation. As you experienced, acquiring new knowledge can be a powerful catalyst for change. In today's rapidly evolving world, staying informed isn't just an academic pursuit, it's a practical tool for personal and social empowerment. That one's a bit basic, and yeah. The interplay of mind and body and spirit. Education enriches not only our cognitive abilities, but also our capacity for empathy, creativity, and self realization. When we learn, we don't just gather facts, we develop a more nuanced understanding of the world, which in turn shapes our actions and our destiny. A forward thinking perspective. This will be our closing thoughts. A catalyst for change. Every new insight and every bit of learning you acquire can be seen as a step towards a more enlightened equitable, and vibrant future. In a world where rapid changes challenge us daily, embracing education, formal or otherwise, is perhaps the most proactive way to harness our potential and shape our collective destiny. Your empowerment journey, your experience of feeling more powerful after learning something new is a personal testament to these timeless ideas. Knowledge does indeed provide the keys to unlock hidden potential, both within ourselves and in the world around us. Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing that I'm taking away from that is just the whole world change fractal, right? I am very obsessed with changing the world, like very much so. And I feel like this whole education rabbit hole is just like another way to, right? I'm gonna keep trying to change the world. And if I have to learn things to do it, oh fucking I will. I will learn to do things. I will. I'll learn. I can smarts. I can pretend to be smarters. Don't eat me, you silly. You freaking mongrel. You marang. Ow, ow, ouch, 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 ouch. Hey, good morning, River Coon. It's nice having you. I've learned a lot about this world and consider myself to be mildly educated. I still know nothing. I'm always in class as a student, eager to absorb new ideas and information, hungry for info, more input, more input. You know what's cool? You get this thing called hash, right? Not that kind of hash, a hash in computers, right? And a hash is essentially something that outputs the same context window, despite how large your input is, right? Isn't that cool? Right? At least it has to be, right? And then you get these things called like collision resistance and pre-image resistance. So you shouldn't be able to, from your hash, be able to like extract the information that there was before without having, the keys to actually access that hash. And in the same way, you should also not be able to get the same hash if you put something in, right? If I say hi and it puts a hash, right? And then you say hello and it puts a hash, and you don't want those hashes to be the same because in the one I said hi and in the other I said hello, right? And then again, you shouldn't be able to determine by looking at the hash that I said hi or hello without the private keys. Is there something else that's interesting about that whole fractal? I feel like there is. Uh, I think maybe like with the messaging fractal, right? So with that whole hashing thing, I feel like there's something else my mind wants to say about hashes. But with the whole hashing thing, right? There can be, for instance, this ability for us to transmit information between us two, right? So I can send you hello on a text, and then I can also have that hello hashed, right? And then that hash also gets made a part of the blockchain. And then when you receive the hello, you can, with my private key, no, with my public key, basically verify that hash I sent you did in fact come from me, right? So you get like a double entry of like the messages and the actual hash function of that message. And then if it matches, you know that in fact it did come from me and wasn't changed in the meanwhile, right? There was no interception of the message and the changing of it potentially. Pippi is sniffing things very loudly. They still feel like there's something interesting I want to tell you about the hash functions. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hear. I do love me a good hash train. The explanation made my head spin a little. Yeah, yeah, it's cool stuff, bro. Again, like it's like a bunch of computer nerds, right? Had to figure this stuff out over a long time, and then you get like a bunch of different hashing algorithms, and some of them are better than others, and some of them are more random than others. and it's hard for us to get true random, like really hard. We might actually have just figured out how to get true random with a, like, I think 40-bit quantum computer or something. Ow! You got sharp ends, bro. You got these sharpen ends. Yeah, we got them with them sharpen ends. You got them with some more mushrooms. What? You want to go and walk on tiles with Pippi? You want to go walk on tiles? Go pretend you're being productive? Huh? Is that what you want to do? Is that all you want to do? Okay, fine. You can be free. I free you. Okay. Yeah. I still feel like there's something interesting, right? There was something cool that I learned about the whole hashing functions that was like very interesting to me. But I can't think other than the whole like collision, right? Again, you don't want them to be the same outputs. The pre-image resistance, you don't want to be able to actually extract the information. Uh, Maybe like this is a way to share it, right? And this is going to be closer to an experience you might have had, right? Have you ever wondered what happens when you type your password? Oh, that's the other thing, cascading. That's what I wanted to tell you about, the cascading, right? So you also want them to have like an avalanche effect, right? So if I type the message hi, right, I'll get a hash function. And then if I type the message hi with two i's, right, if it was a bad hashing algorithm, it would be like the hash and then maybe only a few digits at the end of that hash changed, right? Because I added an extra I, right? But with a good hashing algorithm, you adding an extra I gives you a completely different hash, right? To the point where it might have, it's basically random, right? That's how extra it is. And you should almost be able to like put any amount, well, relatively almost with limitations, any amount of information into that hash, right? And it should have the same output size, which is also pretty interesting. Yeah, yeah. Hashes. How about those hashems? And then, right, like there is like a passing on. Each block, the hashing function is essentially the thing that ties the blocks to each other, right? It's like a it's like an agreement. It's like a understanding almost. Now I'm going to go work on a boat motor and try to translate what you just told me. I'm such a caveman. We're good with tools and hammer. Hash encrypted data will be stuck in my head. So, okay. All right. Again, and this is what I wanted to say. A way to understand it from a way that you might have experienced in your own life is that a hash function, when you type your password into Google, for example, or into Facebook, you don't really want your password to be saved as your password on their server, right? Think about it. Because if your password, I like dogs 555, right, is on their server, if their server is compromised, then any person who compromised their server now gets to see that you, with your email address, says I like dogs 555, and then they can potentially use your password just by compromising that server. However, if that server has like good security, they run your password through a hashing function. And it was like MD5 for the longest time. I think it's these days. Uh, have I forgotten? Like SD? Is it SV? Something like that. SV1, SV2, SV3. It's not exactly. Hey Google, what's the current hashing function we use on the internet? Yeah, SH. There we go. A secure hash algorithm. Yeah, SH2 is basically what we use mostly. So that hashing algorithm basically turns your password into a bunch of gibberish, effectively, right? And then you, with your password, holds the keys to that password in that way, right? And then if you, with your private key, unlocks, or a key in that way is almost like a template, right? Maybe you have like a picture. Maybe there's a bunch of dots, right? Like a grid. A will just flew over me. Maybe there's a bunch of dots in a grid, right? And then you have like a stencil, and then you put that stencil over a bunch of those grids, and then suddenly you can see like letters or a face cut out from that stencil, right? That suddenly now adds lines by removing some of the dots with the stencil, right? That's kind of what a key is. It like serves as, input for you to get the output, for you to decrypt. I have a picture, definitely not hypothetics. I don't know if these are hypotheticals, like these are pretty well used tools. Hey, what are you doing? He's digging in that freaking hole again. Stop it! Pepe, stop digging in the hole. There they come. Running again. Yeah, I appreciate ye for joining me today, friends. It was a dear pleasure having you here, for sharing a moment of your time with me. Melt, couldn't you take a course in something fun like French pastries? You see, again, Bojo, the problem is that nobody's going to pay me for French pastries. At least not here, right? You okay? It's a, it's a matter of power, right? Can I change the world with French pastries? I can maybe change your world with a French pastry, but I don't know if I'll be able to change the world. You see eclipse? Not right now. We didn't get much eclipse sightings here in South Africa. We're not well positioned for that stuff. I haven't seen one in my life, I think. Shenanigans makers. I know it looks brutal, but they don't hurt each other. Melty, that explanation actually landed with me. I understand now. Caveman discovers fire. Yeah, cool, right? Right, and in that whole password analogy, right? If me and you potentially had the exact same password, right, by accident, our hash functions will look different, right? That's the whole collision resistance thing, right? A good hash function makes sure that those hashes are different, even if you and me have the same password. And then the whole pre-image thing is, if I just get the hash, I shouldn't be able to, from that hash, get your password, right? That's what pre-image resistance is. Make sure that I can't get your password. Dream 2 of the lunar eclipse was absolutely stunning. River Coon did get to see it, at least. Look at these creatures. Shenanigansing. Tools, I could see it online. That's true as well. That helps. Our hour has come and gone. Look at us. Just a little bit more educated than we were before. A little bit more empowered to change the world. Look at us. Trendsetters, world changers, doggo parents. Yes. It's happening now. No? It is? I can still see the sun, I'm pretty sure, from this side. So I don't know. I do know love is true, though, and I appreciate you for joining me today. I love you, friends, and I'll see you again soon in the next stream, technically. Love ya.